Cinestill BWXX is a 250 speed film that I've shot on this channel before in medium format. So until my recent trip to New York, I had never actually shot this film in 35mm. I had actually loaded this 35mm stock into my camera with every intention of shooting it on a snowy day. If you haven't seen my last video where I shot a couple of different rolls of film in New York in the snow, then I'll link that in the description. But, you know, circumstance meant that I didn't get round to actually shooting this roll in the snow. So instead of shooting it in the snow, I decided to keep hold of it, keep it in my camera and shoot it the next day on a portrait shoot. So fast forward to the next day, I'm on my shoot. I have my Mamiya RZ67. It hasn't got any film in it at the moment. I've got my Canon EOS 500 with the BWXX, and I'm thinking, right, what I'm going to do is load the Mamiya with the same film stock, but for medium format, and I can do a bit of comparison between the two film stocks. Unfortunately, the shoot was meant to be around 3 p.m, so we would have had about an hour's worth of decent light to shoot the film, and for reasons out of his control, the model got held up and wasn't able to make it until almost 5 o'clock. And at this point, we are like massively running out of light. Still intent on shooting both rolls of film, I start shooting the film even though it's a 250 ISO and even though we're almost out of lights. So until this point, I have never, ever, on any film stock, sent my film to the lab to get it pushed or pulled or do anything other than shooting it at box speed and having it developed at box speed. There's obviously an anxiety when it comes to film photography and the process of film, that if something goes wrong, you're spending a lot of money on it, you are losing photos that you wish you'd had. So it's something that I haven't tried yet for various different reasons. But obviously shooting a 250 speed film in almost complete darkness, you have to have a little bit of leeway. So I decided that I would shoot it and I would send it to the lab to be pushed to 800. So I shot the roll of 120 entirely on the portrait shoot, and I was impressed by the amount of detail maintained, particularly in the shadows and particularly on the model's face. Even when my subject was backlit, right at the end of the shoot where we were almost completely out of light, you still can see some of the detail in his face, still held up pretty well. However, when it comes to the 35mm roll, you can see that, you know, same lighting conditions and also pushed to 800, there isn't that detail. It hasn't really preserved the detail as much. That being said, the roll of 35mm actually ended up being probably my favorite roll of film from the entire trip. The contrast of the film when pushed to 800 really lent itself to some of the daylight scenes from the next day when we had really harsh and direct light. I also love the contrast that it brought to the scenes on the subway. Some of my favourite shots from the whole trip are on this roll, like this bus that is coming through Brooklyn and you have the shadows on the road, and I really liked the contrast of the film. So I still haven't shot Cinestill BWXX on 35mm at box speed, but I have shot it now. I do definitely intend to shoot it again at box speed, but I now know that it pushes really nicely to 800, so there's no worries there if I do need to do that in the future. I won't say much more, we're going to roll through the photos. Please do let me know what you think of them. And if you guys have missed my previous New York series videos, I'll link those in the description. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.